All right, this is a good one, y'all. I've been waiting for this for a long time. This is yet another episode of the special report done by the devs, being transparent with us, which is always great. Being that this game has been out for almost 6 years, and we have such a loyal, diehard community, this is actually needed. And they finally touched heavily on PvP in this special report, which was needed, along with some crazy quality of life changes. People have been making videos, like Cowboy just made a video about why PvP sucks in the division. I've made videos about it. Many people have talked about PvP in the division because of how great it was before and the way it is now. So they've taken this opportunity to look at every single thing, and I'll include patch notes in the description so you can know exactly what's happening and what's going on, because there's a lot. They went over every single weapon, every single piece of gear, everything. And this is going to be an ongoing thing throughout the seasons up until Division 3 comes out, I'm assuming. And I think this lays the foundation for it, because there are a few things that I want to tell you in here that are crazy, like instant heals, status effect changes. Man, this is going to be insane. And plus, a change to my favorite rifle. So just listen up. So what is Project Resolve? That's what they started out talking about. It's a huge quality of life improvement for the overall player's experience of the Division 2. Great for the game's stability, health, and replayability. This has a lot to do with our player feedback. And like I said, it's really nice to know that the devs are being transparent with us, letting us know that they're listening. And there's going to be a PTS December 15th, this Friday, so that we can test all of that out. I cannot wait. Now, starting out, you know me, I used to play PvP a ton. I used to try and counter these metas, and it's just, PvP is just fun in general to me, the DZ and Conflict. So it's great to know that there are going to be some exclusive changes for that. So let's touch on that, right? And they were very specific about the changes in PvP. First of all, they wanted to make it so that it's not really, okay, if I shoot you or if I see you first and I shoot you first and you're done. They want it to be more of a counterplay, skill-based experience, which PvP at heart is supposed to be. So what they did is remove expertise bonuses completely to 0 in PvP, only in Conflict, not in the Dark Zone. And we're going to talk about the Dark Zone in a second, because this is going to be crazy. But for Conflict, they wanted to make it like a pure PvP experience by making it so that you can't really spawn camp. They've added turrets in the spawns so that people can't spawn camp you, and you'll have an opportunity to actually get out, which was a big problem in PvP. I think they should have actually changed the fact that they have a mercy rule where when there's like 6 players left on your team, they give you a mercy rule, like you can't come back or something. They should remove the mercy rule, but they said the feedback is going to be accepted. So this is something that I'm going to present, that they remove also the mercy rule, because in PvP this removes the whole entire opportunity of making epic comebacks. You know what I mean? So status effects. This is a big problem in PvP. Now, you know me, I make some crazy status effect builds where you could just delete enemies in seconds without them being able to do anything. Now, there was a talent back in the day, I forgot what it was called. I think it was called Stop, Drop, and Roll. It was a pistol talent a long time ago, way before Gear 2.0, where when you would dodge roll, it would remove a status effect. And they're adding something similar to this, right? And it's in the realm of diminishing returns. Just diminishing returns is something they're adding to PvP exclusively. It's not going to be in PvE, but in PvP. And diminishing returns is like the more you use a status effect, the less it'll be effective against the enemy. So it'll give them a chance to fight back. So they're categorizing them in 2 places: crowd control and damage over time. Like, for example, bleed and burn are damage over time. And let's say when you apply a burn to somebody, while they're on fire, if they dodge roll, then the fire effect will be less effective on them. And if they dodge roll again, it'll be even more less effective on them, which I think is good, because they didn't want to remove the status effects from PvP completely. They just wanted to make it more of a balanced experience. And when you're bleeding, they said when you stop running or stop moving while you're bleeding, the diminishing returns applies. But this might be a bad thing for people, because what are they going to do? Just stop moving while they're fighting? You got to run away to get away from the people who's shooting at you. But hey, I mean, this is what they added. It's subject to change. This is just an example to show you what's happening. This is a great one. They talked about repair skills, which is, oh my goodness, repair skills is something crazy in PvP that needs to be addressed. because I love making healer builds where you can use a heal and it's going to be effective, not only from damage, but also from status effects. Now, I think that when you use a heal, the effectiveness that it has against people who shoot you is pretty good. It could be better. The effectiveness of your heal could be better against people shooting at you, but it's crazy when it comes to status effects. So they said when you use like a healing hive and you're healed by that, you gain 50% status effects. And get this is what I've been waiting for. And I think this is what they were talking about adding to the specialization trees, which are instant heals. They didn't really, I think with the way that the armor system is on the Division 2, it's not like Div 1 where there wasn't armor, right? There was just heals that gave you an overheal. And you can instantly use them. On Division 2, there are actually armor kits that you could see aesthetically breaking, and you actually putting another one on, repairing your armor. So they said that they were going to add something called enamel kits, where it gives you an opportunity to instantly heal yourself by 25%. I think this is really good, especially, in PvP or when you take damage in general. You have like a split second before you can die or before you go down when you're at 0 health. So if you use this enamel kit at that time, I think it'll be clutch and it'll allow for counterplay, like people were saying. Now, the fact that they removing the expertise down to 0 in PvP and conflict rather is great, because I would load in and see people expertise level 20 in all categories, and I'm like, yo, this is completely off balance. So that right there was a huge statement that they made in order to do that. It's very great. So these quality of life changes are really looking good so far for the Division 2. Now, they talked about the Dark Zone, and this is great because I always make builds that have Yaw gear, and Yaw gear is exclusive to the Dark Zone. There are other stuff like the Dark Winter that are exclusive to the Dark Zone. The Eagle Bearer and the Ravenous and the Bighorn are not exclusive, but they're accessible in the Dark Zone as well. But so many people don't want to go in there because they get griefed, they get rogued on. So they want to establish an identity for the Dark Zone, meaning the invaded and the normal Dark Zone. They want to make the invaded Dark Zone the more gritty, dark, and scary, and more intense experience. So if you want to go and do 250 level rogue and just be everything that you want to be in the Dark Zone, experience how the Dark Zone is supposed to be exemplified on the face of it, then you can do that in the invaded Dark Zones. But for the regular Dark Zones, they made it so that they increased the time that it takes for you to go rogue. So instead of like 0.5 seconds, it's 5 seconds to go rogue. So it's actually a commitment. If you stand there and try and go rogue for 5 seconds, they're going to be looking at you like, yo, are you seriously trying to go rogue on me right now? It's going to give the opponent to prepare rather than being surprised. I know I'm not going to want to go rogue in the regular Dark Zones doing that. Definitely not. And they said when you do go rogue there, after which you will not be able to switch your loadout. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, in conflict, I hated this. I would load into conflict and I would be stuck with one build. The opponent, the other team, would have some builds that they're using that I need to adapt to, but I'm just stuck with the build that I have. So now they said every time you die in spawn, you'll be able to change your loadout. Once you leave spawn, you can't change your loadout. So once every time you die and go into spawn, which is great. So you can be able to adapt to the enemy throughout the fight, which gives you a better chance for counterplay. So I think that the changes to the Dark Zone are great. It really gives them an identity. Like for the Dark Zone, the normal Dark Zone, players are going to want to go in there now. I doubt anybody's going to go rogue in the regular Dark Zones. I highly doubt it. So this is your opportunity to go get those Eagle Bearers, those Ravenouses. It's going to make for a better experience, and this is great. This is what I'm talking about. I talked about how they can make the Dark Zone better before in the video, and this was kind of extreme. I said make it to where there's a matchmaking system that allows for you to spawn into the Dark Zone PvEVP or just PvP, and it solves the problem. But this way you're keeping the whole vibe of the Dark Zone, but making it a less dangerous and more approachable to players who are scared to go in there. And this is a big one, y'all. This is for PvE, right? Expertise. They have decreased the amount needed to upgrade your expertise, to max it out. The resources that you need are a grind. For people who've maxed out your expertise at level 20, kudos to you, but I stopped about halfway through. I'm like expertise level 13, and I'm like, yo, it's way too expensive. You need way too many resources to just upgrade one level on one weapon. And you're talking about all the weapons that are in the game right now. It's pretty insane, and it's untenable for me. So I kind of stopped, and I just didn't care anymore. But this is going to make it a lot better, because I like making different builds. I like rolling different attributes and stats, and that also takes materials. So I need my materials. So for them to do this is a really great quality of life update for the expertise system in general. So gear and balancing. Now this is great too, because there are some completely useless weapons and talents and gear that needs to be addressed. Now with this, they went over the whole list of weapons and gear. You can actually access every change that they've mentioned in the patch notes, which will be in the description. But if you want details, you can really go look. But I'm just going to give you an overview and a few examples of what they've done. So for the weapons, here are a few examples, right? The shield splinter, they added plus 50 RPM. Now the shield splinter already shoots fast. That's going to be pretty dope. The Iron Lung exotic got a 10% damage buff. By the way, exotics got a change too. They said that because remember after the Sacrum Imperium exotic came out, you were able to recalibrate or recraft the exotics to yield a different attribute for the exotic. Before, that wasn't possible. So those other weapons like the Eagle Bearer and a few other weapons were grandfathered into the fact that they can't be changed. So the Eagle Bearer still has headshot damage for its attribute. You can't change it to damage to target shot of cover. But with this, they're going to allow you to recraft all of the exotics and be able to do that, to customize your experience with the exotics in your builds. Now, this is what I love, okay? I'm a big advocate of the Urban MDR rifle. That was an exotic in Div 1. It was my favorite rifle, and they brought it into Div 2, but it's just a regular rifle, but it's still my favorite. They've added 10% weapon damage to this and plus 20% RPM. Yes, you're going to be seeing this in my arsenal in the future. I'm actually going to try this in the PTS come Friday. So make sure you stay tuned to my stream. I'm going to be streaming that. I can't wait. Now for the gear, they wanted to make an incentive for you to actually use the 2 and 3 piece bonuses instead of just using the 1 piece, maybe 2. So what they did is that they didn't change the talents that much. They just increased their effectiveness. Like for example, Empress International's 2 piece gives you 20% instead of 10% skill damage. Healer Guard gives you 3% armor regen instead of 1. Now that is huge. If you guys know, the percentages are huge. 1% armor regen is huge. So to increase that to 3 is a really great incentive to want to use that piece of gear. And they mentioned a few rebalances in the talents for the weapons. For the St. Elmo in PvP is 50% shock ammo instead of 100%, which is great. St. Elmo is a huge problem in PvP, and I know people are making hazard protection builds, but this is just going to balance it even more, because hazard protection, as you know, is not really enough to fend off hazards, because skills have skill damage along with the hazard protection. I don't know if they're going to change that, because there's nothing that you can do to stop skill damage. So I don't know. Like I said, it's an ongoing thing. So this is something that we're going to talk about more in the future, which is great. It's a huge quality of life change. This is the biggest thing they've ever done, the biggest focus they've ever done on Division 2. And I think that it's needed. And I think that they should, because with this game being out for so long, what else are they going to do, right? We're waiting for Div 3. So you have to really make this game something to look forward to by making Division 2 better. And here's a big one, y'all. Loot crates will be scaled based on your world level. So if you're in heroic, then you're going to have heroic tier gear, making it worthwhile. One thing I forgot to mention about PvP, they said that in conflict, you're going to be rewarded for your playtime. They said they didn't want to make it so that you're making a sacrifice to play PvP without getting any loot. The quality is going to be a lot better in those conflict caches, which is great too. So I think all of this was going to lay the foundation for Division 3, and I can't wait to see where this goes. They're showing us that they're being transparent with us, and it's just really good. I mean, PvP is something really that drew me to Division in general. So the fact that they're really focusing on this finally is something that's long overdue. I mean, if you're a PvP player, you can relate to what I'm talking about, man. PvP is just what makes games last for me. After a while, just PvE is not really enough for me, which is why I play other games to try and keep that excitement going. But when you have PvP, there are ever-changing experiences that you can play. That being said, I don't want to make this video too long. That's pretty much all I have to say in this video. Let me know about what you think about everything that's been said. I really want to hear your perspective down below in the comments. And I appreciate you watching to the end. Make sure you like the video and subscribe on your way out. I'll catch you in the next one. Be right out.